Hi everyone, my name is Joseph, and this is my final project for literature in global context. I'm working with the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I chose this book because I it talk about the dreams, about chase the dreams, and I also explain why some people even having all how they need to do to accomplish these dreams, they don't do it. Uh, I'm Chinese and but I grew up in Brazil. And the other reason I choose this book because the author is also Brazilian, and he is one of my favorite authors. This book is separated in two parts. One, two, and one epilogue. The first part is uh, is when the main character is introduced. He's a boy called Santiago, and his profession is a shepherd. He spent his days searching for uh, food and water for his sheep. One of the curious fact that of he becoming a shepherd is by choice. Is what wasn't for like a necessity. He is being in a seminary for until he's 16 years old, and he learned Latin, Spanish, and theology, and was going to become a priest. However, he wanted to know the word, so his only option was become a shepherd. Once his family was has just a single farm. When he's lived in an abandoned church, he had a dream, and in this dream, he met a child was playing with his sheep, and suddenly this child took him by his hands and bring him to the pyramids in the Egypt, and said that in this place he will find a hidden treasure. When he went to Tarifa, a place where he normally sell the wool of his sheep, he remembered that in this place have a gypsy that could interpret his dreams, and there the gypsy basically told him the same thing as in the dream. But after that, he met an old man, and this old man guesses everything about him, and also about his dream. I convinced Santiago to follow this dream, to discover his destiny. No, because he already discovered his destiny. That was like may know the word. And also this old man gave him two stones from his golden breastpiece. And after this, he told Santiago that he was a king from Ceylon. It seems like this old man will be like a guide for the rest of the story for Santiago, in the form of these two stones. Santiago then decided to leave Andalusia and travel to Africa because he knew that Egypt was in Africa, even didn't know where exactly was Egypt. He decided this because he felt jealousy from of the wind, that because the wind could travel and have freedom all over to go anywhere, and he could not. He could not if he keep being just a simple shepherd. Arriving in Africa in a place called Tangier, he was cheated and lost all his money. and he regret about his decisions, and he want to go back to Andalusia and be a shepherd again, but he didn't have any money to do that. So and also he didn't know how to speak the language in that place, that was Arabic. But when he looked at the two stones again, he how to say, he changed his mind and decided to look the bright side of the situation. And the bright side is like he knew a new place, and he also noticed after certain situation that he could understand and communicate with people in that place without knowing the language. And he called this language the world language, and he noticed that he could communicate the same way he was communicating with his shepherd, his sheep. He was communicating with people in the same way. Okay, he got this job at the crystal shop. Okay, the business started to increase in this shop. The owner of the shop, he convinced Santiago that was impossible for Santiago go to the across the desert to reach Egypt and see the pyramid. That was a bunch of the stone that you could build in your backyard. Then the merchant, like he's exactly what the other opposite of Santiago. This merchant, he had a dream. His dream was go to the holy city of Mecca, and because he was a Muslim, but even with all his possessions and every resource that he needed to go to this place, he never went there, and he decided he could not go because the decision to go to Mecca was what keep him alive. And if he went there, he believed that he wouldn't have any reason to live anymore. Santiago had some ideas, and using the ideas of Santiago, the shop became bigger and bigger, and the more like the business grow up. After 1 year staying in this place, Santiago get enough money to buy a ticket to go back to Andalusia and have the double number of ships that he had before. But looking at when he was like taking his stuff and looking his old stuff, he rediscovered the two stones that he got from this the old king from Salem. And he decided that even if he will give a try to go across the desert and reach the pyramids, because what he wanted, and that was his dream. By this way, and he also remembered that one of the people that one of the supplier of the store crossed the desert with in caravans to bring the crystal. Then he decided to ask this supplier if he could like bring him across the desert. And in this caravan he met an Englishman. This Englishman was searching for an alchemist that was in oasis called Al-Fayyad. This Englishman was literate. He knew. He was studying everything about alchemy, and he wanted to become alchemist. But he never go outside. He just read about it in his books, and then he read his research. And by interacting with Santiago, this alchemist teach about alchemy to Santiago, and Santiago start to push this Englishman to look around what he had around the desert and everything. When they reach this oasis, Santiago and the Englishman try to find this alchemist, and by doing so, they went near a water fountain and try to ask people. And one of these people was a woman called Fatima that Santiago fell in love. Oh, but they did start a second part. And the second part is about how Santiago get near his dream and how he keeping. It's basically he becoming an alchemist. When he fell in love with Fatima, he asked after several meetings with Fatima, he asked her to become his wife. But this woman, she said she was a woman of desert, and she was proud of that, and she was proud that of the tribesmen that search for treasure as he was doing before he met her. If he stayed with her and then stopped to search for his dreams, then she could not be with him. And Santiago thought that Fatima was the treasure that he was looking for. However, after he started wandering in the desert, he had a vision, and in this vision, he saw the tribe be attacked by warriors, and he thought that was strange because the oasis, by the tradition, the oasis could not be attacked by any tribal war because or warrior, because the oasis was like a neutral territory. But he in this either way, he went and talked with the chief of the tribe there, and they decide to believe in Santiago and take the arms to protect themselves. And at the end of this part, Santiago saved the oasis, and by this way he also met the alchemist. The alchemist guides Santiago through the desert and teaching about the soul of the world, and also how to communicate with his own heart, and in this way they could go through the desert without being involved in this tribal war. But when they were almost at the Egyptian pyramids, one of these tribes captured them, and they didn't believe that. They believed that Santiago and the alchemists were spies of the enemy. Then, to try to convince them, the alchemist said that Santiago was also an alchemist, and that he could turn himself in the wind, and destroy the war camp. They didn't believe, and gave Santiago just 3 days to do that. Santiago, by trying and communicating with his own heart, and the soul of the world, he learned that he could communicate with the desert, the wind, and the sun, and the end with the handle that wrote all. And by doing so, he realized that the soul of the world was a part of the soul of the God, and that the soul of the God was his own soul. And by this way, he could do miracles. And by this, at the end of this part, he could turn himself in the wind. After that, he and the alchemist went in different ways, and the Santiago finally achieved the pyramids. And there he started to dig near the pyramids to try to find his treasure. And there he was attacked by thieves again. And the thieves beat him and take everything he had again. And but at the end, the leader of these thieves told him that he also had the same dream, but he wasn't dumb enough to believe in this dream. And in the dream of this, the leader of the thieves, the treasure was hid under the church, and under one church in Spain. And Santiago finally realized that the treasure was in the church that he was in where he had the dream. So at the end, he just go back to his place of the region to and find this treasure. And this part is already the epilogue. He found the treasure, and he communicated with the sky, I believe, with God, and he will ask why you send me to the Egypt and make me suffer all this. And he said, like, if I don't do that, you will never met the pyramids in Egypt. It's your destiny to travel around the world. And he Santiago realized that all he passed by was to accomplish his destiny. That's all. Thank you, everybody.